Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another book review. I hope you're all doing good today. And today I'm reviewing Raptors Upstream by Hwang Jeong-eun, translated by Agnel Joseph. So I'll explain what the story is, how it reads, and why it matters today. And this story asks a very unsettling question. So, what if doing the right thing is the choice that ruins your family? So, told by an outsider narrator. So, the person narrating the story is an outsider to this family. And the narrator is remembering a trip with her ex boyfriend, Jehee, and Chehi's parents. And the story follows this once very comfortably middle class household that is crushed by fraud and then held in place by an obligation. A financial obligation that they decide to honor at very steep and significant costs. So I'll focus on how the calm voice of the story and this sort of off-stage violence of debt, and then this central question of what counts as moral behavior. So, how do these things work together to make an argument about inequality? So, by the end, you'll hopefully know the tone, the themes, and whether this one belongs on your reading list. So, hello, everybody. I'm Barry. This is Soul Book Club. And like I said, today we're reviewing a short story called Raptors Upstream by Hwang Jeong-eun, and translated by Agnel Joseph. And the Korean title is Sangruen Mengumru, and it was originally published in Korean in the fall 2013 issue of a literary magazine called Chaumgwa Moum, which translates as Consonants and Vowels in English. And then it was included in a collection of Hwang's stories called Being Nobody, Amudo Anin, and that was published by Moonhak Dongne in 2016. And then the English translation was published as part of the 10th anniversary edition of the Korean Literature Now magazine. And I do have a physical copy of this, but I was searching before I went live just now, and I can't find it. I mean, I know it's there on the shelf somewhere, but I just couldn't find it, so I gave up. Anyway, the translator of today's story is Agnel Joseph. And Agnel is also the editor in chief of Korean Literature Now. And you can, of course, subscribe to Korean Literature Now to get access and even access most of the content for free on the website. And it's an incredible resource for anyone who's interested in Korean literature. So today's writer, Hwang Jeong-eun, is, of course, a writer that I've covered before. So I've reviewed two of her novels and one of her short stories. So I've reviewed 100 Shadows and I'll Go On. I'm a huge fan of 100 Shadows. And also I reviewed a short story called Hong's Garden. Hong's Garden. Hong's Garden. And again, fantastic story. And she has another novel translated into English that I haven't read yet called Dee Dee's Umbrella. I'll try and get around to that sometime. But all of these things I've reviewed so far, 100 Shadows, Hong's Garden, and I'll Go On. So they're all have these very sort of sensitive depictions of marginalized people. And in today's story, Raptors Upstream, we find Hwang in similar territory, writing about an underprivileged family and their life trials. So Hwang is a writer with a significant following, especially among millennial readers. Her early short stories, and especially her debut novel, 100 Shadows, very much got her a following and got her an audience. Around the early 2010s, she was even sometimes called a spokesperson for the Hell Choson generation. And she also built a following with two successful book podcasts. And this cemented her reputation as a thoughtful critic and fan as well as creator. So, what is Hwang focusing on in this one? What is happening in Raptors Upstream? So, this is the story of a family's misfortune told from an outsider's perspective. We have an unnamed narrator, a young woman, who recounts a story about a trip she took with her ex boyfriend, Jehee, and Jehee's family. We learn that Jehee's family had at one point been relatively well off merchants with a pretty comfortable and, let's just say, a sort of happy middle class-ish lifestyle, lower middle class lifestyle. They ran a fruit business and were essentially content with their place on the social ladder. However, they are conned by an acquaintance who steals a significant sum of money from them, and who it also turns out had built up significant debts using Jehee's family name. So, as such, the family is placed in a quandary. What do they do now? The thief proves impossible to trace. This closes down the option of justice, or maybe getting some of the money back somehow from this person. And Jehee's parents even contemplate the unthinkable, killing themselves and their young children. But they decide against this terrible path. So what then? Jehee's father wants to put the children up for adoption, but his mother refuses. So they decide to buckle down and try to pay off these overwhelming debts that they've been unfairly burdened with. And Hwang writes that Jehee's family never recovered from the fall. And over the rest of the story, shows how their lives changed and why they possibly made the wrong decision. So, a happy, stable family has their business and livelihood ruined and must find some way to survive. In recent years, Korean dramas such as Squid Game and movies like Parasite, as well as many of the novels that I've reviewed, are full of families, full of individuals resorting to desperate measures to climb the social ladder or escape their challenging financial situation, just improve their circumstances, their economic circumstances. So, how does Hwang tackle this issue? What does she have to say about inequality? So, it would be easy to see the story as simply a morality tale. A good family makes a bad mistake, sees their position in society crumble, as the neighbors they considered friends turn on them and expel them from their midst. And that's exactly what happens. So they have to sell their fruit store. They move into a cramped one bedroom apartment. They take the oldest sister out of school and make her get a job. They set about marrying off the sisters. But nevertheless, getting out from under the debt is just almost impossible. And they become old with this debt as yet unpaid. The daughters never get to attend university. They marry into similarly impoverished circumstances, similarly impoverished families. Then the narrator wonders at what price came this family's proud stance of paying back the debt. She says, I thought it was immoral. She ponders, why didn't they run away, try and start new somewhere else, instead of condemning their children to the lives they now lead? And Jehee's family has done what we might call the honorable thing, but were led to question, in a society so unfair, so stacked against those with debts and low incomes, can we really consider the supposed noble path a moral choice? It's a very difficult question. On the one hand, we might generally think that, of course, we should pay our debts. But at the same time, if the terms of the debt are so extreme for the one paying, can this really be called just or fair in any way? So, how does Hwang develop this idea? On the surface, Raptors Upstream might seem like a deceptively simple story, but it's actually quite layered and thorny and difficult. You could see a more simplistic version of this story where the family takes on the unfair debt, works hard, and eventually pays it off, thereby restoring them to their former position in the pecking order. It's almost like a Dickens story or a Victorian novel about someone escaping the poorhouse or the debtor's prison. But that's not the case here. The family does work hard for many years to fulfill their obligation, but Hwang just calmly shows us how this burden crushes their spirits and ruins the interfamily relationships. There's no honor or pride to be taken in shouldering the burden of a cruel debt that you realistically cannot be expected to pay. Instead, your family will suffer, your relationships will suffer, and so on. There's an excellent essay by Hwang Jeong-eun about this story in which Hwang writes their self-pride fails to save them, and instead they end up imprisoning themselves within an endless orbit that saps their life little by little. Ultimately, their honorable decisions only amount to attachment to conventional morals. It's really a very complicated story that poses some challenging questions, and also a story that connects to many wider issues in Korea and elsewhere. So thank you for watching this review of Raptors Upstream. If you've read it, let me know what you thought in the comments. And if you have any suggestions or recommendations, please let me know. And as always, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you again shortly.